The Marlins swept in Houston. However, 2 home runs in 3 games for Jazz Chisholm Jr. The 40-40 tracker is absolutely ticking along right now. And also, rumors circulating that the New York Yankees are interested in Jazz Chisholm Jr. Why wouldn't they be? But the interesting part, they're interested in him playing back in the infield. De La Cruz with a return and a bomb against the Astros. Reminder on De La Cruz, acquired for a rental Yimi Garcia. It could be tons of new De La Cruzes coming into the organization real soon. Tons to get into. This is Locked on Marlins.
You are Locked on Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked on Marlins, your daily Marlins pod. I'm your host, of course, Peter Pratt. Hit me up at Miami Marlins _UK. Happy Friday, guys. If you're listening to the pod, firstly, welcome, greetings, welcome to the show. Happy Friday. This is your team every day, and thanks for making Locked on Marlins your first listen of the day. Of course, this is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Guys, make sure you hit subscribe over on the YouTube channel as well. It's also called Locked on Marlins. Surprise, surprise. Join me there. Join me in the comments. Join me in the premiere as well. I like to hang out there and get just general, real-time vibes on these episodes. So let me know. Join me there. Leave a comment as well. Guys, this episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. And the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. We got a packed schedule, packed agenda, packed lineup, however you want to phrase it. It's Friday. The Marlins commence a series against the Reds. Fish on first, letting me know that the projected starting pitchers is going to be 2 lefties for the Reds. So it could be another tricky series for the Marlins. I think this is a really big series, actually, for the Cincinnati Reds in terms of the direction of their season, considering that NL Central remains relatively tight bunched. And the Reds right now are bottom of the NL Central. However, from a wildcard perspective, they're only 3 games back. They're 6-4 in the last 10. They've scored in total 413 runs, which is more than the Cardinals, which is more than the Pirates, which is more than the Cubs. So the Reds' offense could be lively, particularly at their own ballpark, of course, which is always a lively ballpark. There could be some runs. The Marlins facing lefties. There could be some pain on deck here. Roderick Munoz had a career day yesterday. Encouraging start from Roderick. Started a little bit slow. You know, the Astros managed to put up 3 runs in the first 3 innings. They actually put 3 runs up in the 4th and 5th combined as well. There's 6 runs, just 5 hits for them. So a bit of a funky box score and line on the Astros here. But Roderick Munoz with a career day, 6 2/3, just gave up 5 hits, 2 walks. But unfortunately, 6 runs, 4 of them earned. Some questionable defense, as is the standard for the Marlins at this point. Roderick Munoz at this point, his ERA down to, or stayed pretty much on par, but 5.47 ERA for Munoz. Nardi and Scott getting some work as well. Clean work for them boys. But yeah, considering, as I spoke about in yesterday's episode, the rotation has been just been lacking length. It's been lacking anyone getting any, deep into any games. So this will be a stunning outcome for Roderick Munoz, for the Marlins, for everyone in that bullpen. No doubt about it. So much needed. Roderick steps up. And this is it with Roderick. He's relatively new to Major League Baseball, but he flashes ability. He absolutely flashes ability. I'm very intrigued about Roderick Munoz in terms of the future here. Again, we see him now. There'll be little incremental gains through the year. But I just wonder, we don't know the future of Mel Stottlemyre Jr. still at this point, but I do wonder, an off season with the Wizard, and what could we see from Roderick Munoz in 25? It's we'll wait and see. I don't expect him to be moved at this point of the deadline. there's absolutely no reason to be moving Roderick Munoz in particular. So, he's going to be given a full effort. Spoke about it a few weeks ago that I could absolutely see in Munoz being the Marlins MVP in the second half, primarily because the rotation's still dinged. He could be one of the main standout guys in the rotation. Frankly, Jazz is going to be moved. We don't know about De La Cruz or Sanchez. And so, and Scott's clearly going to be moved. So, who's going to be top performers in this second half for the Marlins? I think Munoz could absolutely step up. So very interested to see how he goes, but really encouraging length of start. And considering it's 6 2/3 from 94 pitches, very impressive. Trevor Rogers normally, he's through 3 innings with 94 pitches. So Munoz, the stuff plays, clearly he's got a little bit of a home run issue. Like when the stuff doesn't quite get to where it needs to, it does disappear. But nevertheless, super encouraging. Nice as well from Nardi. Tanner Scott remains just a machine. No hits, just a strikeout from him. His ERA now at 1.38. I mean, we got to see plenty of stud relievers here, right? Because you've got Tanner Scott from a Marlins perspective, but obviously on the flip side, Josh Hader made 2 appearances in this series. And Hader right now, when you look at it, bigger hype as he's got, Hader 17 saves, yes. One of those was yesterday, including 2 Ks. But his ERA for Hader, 3.95. You look at Ryan Presley, 14 holds for him. He gave up a hit yesterday, but a strikeout, but a 3.79 ERA. Abreu, 21 holds for him. He had 3 Ks, although he gave 2 hits, but 2.98 ERA. This is the point. This is the point for Tanner Scott is, yes, Hader, yes, Presley, yes, Abreu. But Tanner Scott, for the last, not just this season, but for the last year, has been better than these guys. His results have been far superior. I know Hader and Presley have the big name recognition. Obviously, they've done it for a long time, been studs. But it just puts into perspective when Josh Hader, 17 saves, 3.95 ERA. Whereas Tanner Scott, okay, he hasn't quite got the number of saves, but has worked in a similar number of innings, a 1.38 ERA. That's why it's very interesting just kind of mentioning De La Cruz and just the reminder that De La Cruz and how he was acquired. He was acquired at the deadline when the Marlins made a few, they were selling, sold a few pieces. Yimi Garcia going to the Astros for 2 months. Actually, was there maybe some control on Yimi Garcia? Maybe there was, but nevertheless, they moved him. They got Brian De La Cruz back. I actually can't remember if Yimi had control. Probably he did. I don't know. Nevertheless, the point I wanted to make on that was, the Marlins were able to acquire De La Cruz, who was he was blocked, I guess, in the Astro system. He was seen as he was at AAA, performing well, was ready for his chance, but the Astros just had so much talent. De La Cruz fully blocked. And this is why I think it's very interesting where in that situation, the Marlins were very happy to acquire De La Cruz. They could see an opportunity for him. You get into situations for these upper minors guys that are still relatively young, where they're either on the 40-man or soon will need to be on the 40-man to be protected from the Rule 5, et cetera, et cetera. I think the challenge generally, though, from in some ways, is the profile of player that has been identified here seems to be younger than the upper minors guys. So, that kind of is the challenge. There is value there. Those types of guys that are on organizations that always compete, like the Astros, that have got tons of talent, layers of it, and they've got nowhere to fit a guy like Brian De La Cruz. That's the perfect position for the Marlins. But again, do those guys fit the profile for what the Marlins are looking for right now? If it's a true piece that they're seeking, more likely at this point, they've been targeting younger guys. So you're going to end up taking a guy that may be good in 4 years or 5 years' time. Whereas De La Cruz was basically big league ready to rock and roll. He has continued to progress with the Marlins, which has been, encouraging to see. He's one of the most dependable sticks right now. Particularly this season, you look up and down the lineup and, beyond Jazz, you've got Jesus Sanchez in the strong side platoon, and then you've got De La Cruz. And now Xavier Edwards, I would say that there is a contact guy I trust. Beyond that, there's no one you can trust in this Marlins lineup. Bell, Berger, Brujan, the catching position. There's nothing there, no doubt about it. So, it's really interesting that De La Cruz has progressed to the point. He's definitely someone that the Marlins depend on right now. Spoke about it a few episodes ago that for me, I'd absolutely listen on Cruz right now. I'd listen on Jesus Sanchez right now. And the Marlins seemingly are listening on Jazz Chisholm Jr. Rumors surfacing that the Yankees are interested in Jazz Chisholm Jr. What could that fit look like? Where would the Yankees want him to play? It sounds more like it could be into the infield. Do the Yankees have the prospect capital to get something done? Could Tanner Scott also be a fit for the Yankees? Tons of question marks here. We're going to cover that after the ad break. So before we make sure you stick with us. And let's firstly let you know about our good friends over at Booking.com. Yes, sir. And this episode of Locked on Marlins is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. And with summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rivals' cities. We're talking about Cincinnati. Who listening is already in Cincy now? Who has been on the Booking.com and found your spot? Hope you've made it happen. And why not? With hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival's city. I've always been a big fan of Booking.com. Whenever I travel, it's my go-to app. No doubt about it. You can pinpoint the location, search by pricing, find the places you want. Great filters. It's got everything you need. If you're in Cincy right now, make sure you get into Booking.com and find your spot. So the right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app. And guys, this episode is also brought to you by our very good friends and long-standing friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style. eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP. Bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to Locked on Marlins, and thanks for making Locked on Marlins your first listen, guys. With me, Peter Pratt, on Friday, the 12th of July. It's going to be a busy weekend of sports, no doubt about it, guys. We have the Euros. England are in the final against Spain. It's going to be absolutely stunning. I'm interested to know how closely my US friends and listeners have been tracking the Euros. Does it make a dent? Is anyone following it? Let me know. Who are you cheering on? Who do you fancy, England or Spain? As you guys know, I'm also a big tennis guy. And you have the final of Wimbledon also on Sunday. The men's final, I should say. The ladies' final tomorrow. The Italian Paolini looks very interesting. It's going to be an interesting final, no doubt. But Carlito versus Djokovic on Sunday, which is going to be fun. So we have one hell of a weekend of sport, no doubt about it. The draft also commences on Sunday. The Marlins also play the Reds. Some would say some of these are not like the others. The draft should be fun. There should be some eyeballs on that. I'm very interested to see where the Marlins go at 16. Spoke about it yesterday. Subsequently on that, by the way, I've spent a little bit of time, doing the odd Twitter search, trying to find some clips of these guys. Seaver King, by the way, an absolute stud. I'm all in on Seaver King, so I need the Marlins to be taking him at number 16, unquestioned. If he's there, they need to pull the trigger on that one. No doubt about it. He looks like an absolute monster. I get it. The metal bats, the balls are flying everywhere. But that power looks interesting. He looks like that profile could do some serious damage. So I'm all in on Seaver King. No doubt about it. Let's talk about our Bahamian king, Jazz Chisholm Jr. 2 home runs in the Astros series. Also, that home run yesterday and that bat flip was stone cold from Jazz Chisholm. Those side-on views, those side-on profiles are immense, aren't they? Those little clips. Fish on First are like the elite of that. It must be Eli. I don't know who's on the ones and twos on that one. Probably Eli, but he is so quick to get them out, and they are immense clips. Jazz with the effortless power that disappeared rapido and a bat flip under the radar, cold as ice. Absolute stunner from Jazz. But that's 2 home runs in the series. He also had one in game 1 as well. It's interesting that the rumors circulating around Jazz Chisholm Jr., it's fair to say they became more apparent. There was more behind them, more substance around Jazz Chisholm Jr. being available and almost expected to be traded. What happens then? The Jazz catches fire. He's giving it he's giving it the pot scraper. That's what he's talking about on Twitter. I put it out there saying Jazz with the old mix it up as he's rounding third. I've never seen Jazz do that celebration, but Jazz being Jazz, I absolutely love him on Twitter. I wish more players were on Twitter. I wish it'd be back like the old days where players were engaging with fans. I get it. Sometimes it's not an amazing space for a player because anything you put out there, there's going to be haters. It's just the very nature of it. But man, oh man, I'd like to see more of it. I'd like to see the players, and I'd like to see athletes more generally engaging with fans on Twitter. It's like, it was the beautiful thing with Twitter when it kind of first came out. Like, everyone was tweeting, everyone was engaging. You felt so close to these guys that you see on TV and the guys that you follow. Nevertheless, Jazz is absolutely still one of those that will engage with fans. He's very funny, and he definitely will. He will kind of clap back at you as well if there's any rogue comments. I mean, that's where the drill your mama came from, of course, with Jazz. But yeah, he quickly pointed out that he was pot scraping. I don't even know what the hell that means. I'm a 40-year-old white dude in the UK, and it's fair to say I had no clue what the hell Jazz was on about. But nevertheless, I've done my research and I found a YouTube clip that has brought it to life for me. So Jazz was pot scraping. But he's been doing a lot of pot scraping this series, no doubt, with these 2 bombs. But very interesting time in the Jazz has come alive offensively for sure. And we get the rumors, not only the Craig Mish, I wouldn't describe that as rumors, I'd describe that as reporting, in that Craig will be talking with a degree of insight and knowledge there clearly around this situation. So the Marlins are listening on Jazz, and we then get a follow-up that the Yankees are one of the clubs that are interested. I think there's some obvious fits for Jazz. The Mariners, a lot of people have made that connection, definitely. The Mariners, Pirates, I think is a good fit. They've been mentioned. But the Yankees coming up as well. And the Yankees coming up, not for Jazz to be playing in the outfield, but actually to return back to the infield, which I think is a very interesting situation. And I don't know who spoke about this on one of the podcasts that I listened to. It was either the Fish on First guys, or it was Jeremiah or Marlins 9 with Smoking Joe Frisaro. Those boys are hooking up every other week now. 3rd episode with Joe Frisaro on, and they're always fire, by the way. Nevertheless, someone was talking about, and I thought it was a great point well made with Jazz, that if the Marlins are shopping him right now, which they appear to be, would it not make sense to give Jazz some reps in the infield just to, remind everyone that he could play second base? I mean, he was good at second base, but he hasn't played there for a couple of years now. Would it not make some sense for Jazz to have the odd start at second base, or even short? I don't even know. I don't know. I know Skip, when he was asked about this, could we see Jazz return to the infield? The answer was no. I think it was a one-word answer. I haven't seen the actual clip. It was just the words via a tweet. I think it was Isaac Azut's tweet. So I didn't know. I don't know the history around that. I don't know the backstory. Was there any more description from Skip? Do you know what? I'm going to text Skip right now and see if he responds on Twitter. We'll see. But I'd love to know. Like, Jazz went out there to help the team. The team doesn't really need that degree of help now. They've got other guys that can play center field. Would it not make sense to give Jazz some reps in his position that he, is more accustomed to? But the point that was made on this pod was, would that help his trade value at this point? Where if you have right now, you're just kind of guessing. You're like, can Jazz still play second? I mean, I don't think anyone's guessing. I think it's pretty obvious that Jazz can play anywhere with his level of talent and athleticism, no doubt. But, would it not make sense just to have some reps there to put something on tape, remind everyone, okay, yeah, Jazz can absolutely do it. I throw him in at shortstop too. We've seen what we've seen with Xavier Edwards. We know what we know, and we know he isn't going to be a long-term solution there. So I'd put Jazz in there too. Just imagine if Jazz was an absolute stud shortstop. Most of these contending clubs, though, to be honest with you, are absolutely stacked at shortstop. You look around the league, there was like a top 10 list of shortstops the other day, and man, oh man, the talent is unreal. It is unreal. It's funny though, because at center field, I would say there's less overall offensive talent across the league generally. So in reality, there probably is greater value for Jazz being good in center field. I think I saw a tweet earlier today to say that the Marlins are currently 9th in Major League Baseball in WRC plus at center field, which is effectively Jazz. So that shows you, Jazz, offensive production wise, he's a top 10 player right now. And that's the point I made this morning with a tweet I put out that, I just simply went through everyone's rosters. I went to yesterday's games, and listen, I don't follow every team super closely. I follow the Marlins and, other teams less so. So I was thinking, okay, let's flick through the contenders. Let's have a look who played yesterday at center field for these guys, and where do you think Jazz would be an upgrade? So I started flicking through. Probably, and I then saw the tweet, Jazz is 9th in WRC plus. I pretty much called out maybe 18 to 20 teams where Jazz would be an upgrade. I know people are saying, oh, well, Jazz, he's overrated, blah, blah, blah. Jazz would be an upgrade on pretty much every roster. I went to the Dodgers first. I was like, what's the Dodgers looking like? Man, what's happened to the Dodgers lineup? I looked at it, it's basically Ohtani and no one else. Miggy Rowe, and there's no slander for Miggy here. Miggy Rowe is hitting 5th at the moment for the Dodgers. He's hitting 5th. He's actually having a really good season offensively by the looks of it in terms of his average and, OPS, etc. So fair play to Miggy Rowe. He's under the radar, having a real sneaky good year by the looks of it. But, doesn't take away. Miggy Rowe is hitting 5th for the Dodgers. I don't think anyone would have expected that, in the middle of July at this point. But that's where the Dodgers are. They need help. The Phillies, I'm looking at them. Okay, Brandon Marsh is absolutely having a good year. But, Brandon Marsh is kind of moving around the outfield. The Phillies have a need too. The Pirates definitely do. The Brewers definitely. The list goes on and on and on. Every team could pretty much do with Jazz. Whether it's center field or whether it's playing the infield, I think is very interesting. Let's do the final ads, and then we want to talk about these Yankee rumors in more detail. From the other side, what would the Marlins be seeking here? Who are the names to look out for? I think there's some headliners. Whether the Marlins can get there, I maybe doubt that. But there's definitely one very intriguing name and very intriguing description anyway that we're going to dig into straight after this one. But before we do that, firstly, we need to let you know about our good friends over at Tax Network USA. Yes, sir. And here on Locked On Marlins, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round. Yes, collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let that happen, guys. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. And with over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. And guys, be sure to mention Locked On Marlins at checkout, and you'll receive a $250 discount off their services. Reminder, mention Locked On Marlins at checkout, and you get that discount, $250 off their services. And guys, final ad here. It's our good friends over at Stitch Fix. Yes, sir. Love these guys. You know the instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good. That's what I get with Stitch Fix. And with Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. You can easily upgrade with a professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. I simply give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want, how I want. No subscription required. They send 5 just for me pieces plus further outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. I keep what works, send back the rest. If you don't love something, just send it back. Shipping, returns, exchanges, they're always free. Style that makes you feel as you look. Now is the best time to get started at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $100 off. That's $25 off your first 4 fixes for a limited time only. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $100 off. stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kids' fixes. All right, guys, final segment here with me, Peter Pratt. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen, guys. And happy Friday. Happy Friday to everyone. We are talking Jazz Chisholm rumors to the Yankees. By all accounts, the Yankees are interested, of course. Everyone is going to be interested. I don't know how serious the Yankees are at this point, but I naturally wanted to go and check out the Yankees farm system. Who are the top prospects that we should be thinking about? Of course, Jason Dominguez, the headline guy, I guess. I wasn't really clear on, where generally Dominguez sits at this point, just in terms of like top 100. But Dominguez right now, per MLB pipeline, is the 25th overall ranked prospect. Reminder, he's only 21 still. His ETA is effectively like now, I guess, for Dominguez. So he's down at AAA at this point, I believe. He's hitting 389 at AAA thus far. So, he's having a good year. I don't think, considering he's the 25th overall prospect, I don't believe that a package of Jazz and Tanner Scott, I don't think the Yankees are going to move Dominguez. I think they're all in on him, clearly. The Yankees then also have a 23rd, their next prospect generally is Spencer Jones. He's the 74th overall prospect. He's 6'6". That's the thing that stood out to me. A 6'6" outfielder, big dude at AA at this point. He's 23, so Dominguez at 21 is already like tearing it up right now at AAA. Spencer Jones, he's down at AA, hitting 237, an OPS of 720. Relatively underwhelming campaign, I would say, from Spencer Jones. We then have their third-ranked prospect, Chase Hampton, 82nd overall. So in my opinion, this is probably the range where you start to get into, finding a fit for Jazz, maybe a Tanner Scott kind of piece here, right? Like, I don't think Dominguez is in play, but I think there could be, we get into this range now where I think they could. The guy that absolutely stood out to me when I just went and looked at the prospect list here, the number 4th ranked prospect for the Marlins, Roderick Arias. A shortstop. Firstly, that's great. Age 19. I was like, man, oh man, this is like this is a Peter Bendix special all over. Roderick Arias, a shortstop. He's in A ball. He's 19, 6 foot. You then look at the pipeline description and in the bio, and this to me became very interesting. Arias not only possesses uncommon power for a middle infielder, but also tools to impact the game in a variety of other ways. He's a plus runner who's very aggressive on the bases and has 30-30 upside. He's a no-doubt shortstop with smooth actions, instincts, and a plus arm who could play almost anywhere on the diamonds. Guys, I'm not going to lie. When I read that bio, I fell in love. I absolutely fell in love with that. It's effectively the bio of Jazz when he was acquired for Zach Gallen. Yes, Jazz was a little bit older than that and a little bit further along, but man, this dude, that bio, if that's real, for Roderick Arias, is absolutely stunning. Plus arm, tools, middle infield power, can play anywhere, 19, shortstop. Listen, I absolutely I absolutely don't want Jazz to go. But that type of prospect is one that should get things moving. They should get things fluttering. You should feel something, I think, for that type of guy. Yes, Jason Dominguez is obviously the crown jewel, but I don't think he's moved. I think there could be a fit for the Marlins and Yankees for Jazz and Tanner Scott, maybe. And I absolutely think that prospect fits the profile. They may need to add something to it. He's not a top 100 guy, but frankly, it doesn't matter. Like these, ranking websites, it doesn't really matter. It's how these clubs value the players. And considering that bio, I mean, he sounds like a top 50 prospect, to be honest. I've never read such a sexy bio. So people listening, let me know your thoughts on that prospect particularly. Do you know him? Have you been tracking him? Have they oversold him on the MLB pipeline description? But Roderick Arias sounds like a stunning fit considering age, position, and profile. Guys, thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen. I'm going to round it up there. Roderick Munoz with a career day. Jazz Chisholm Jr. has got the 40-40 tracker ticking. 2 bombs in 3 games. De La Cruz returned to the Astros with a bomb. And a reminder that you can turn relievers into big league bats, no doubt about it. And the Yankees rumors have surfaced around Jazz Chisholm Jr. There's absolutely a prospect that I think could be an interesting fit for the Marlins. Guys, I just want to give you a scheduling note. I am traveling a little bit next week. And so episodes may be slightly spotty. We will see. I'm hoping to continue on usual pace. Daily episodes, of course. But just want to call out that there may be a day or two missing along next week. But of course, we'll double up on days around that. See how it goes. Go fish in Cincinnati. Let's finish before the All-Star break strong. The Reds absolutely need to do something. It's going to be tough for the Marlins facing 2 lefties in a lively ballpark, but we'll see what's cooking. I'll see you next week.